but I'd come back on leave from Afghanistan. So at the time, Michael Jackson was the only job. My first ever job was I used to dress up as a bear.
Simon Newton.
Simon Newton. Simon Newton is the owner of a private security company.
Actor.
And former A-list celebrity bodyguard.
I was at Catterick for a while, Catterick Garrison, and then Iraq War 2003 started. When I first come back to London, I got a job with the Dubai royal family, with the King of Dubai for 2 years. And that's when I started up a security company, which was back in 2010. We started off with the Intercontinental Hotel in Park Lane, was my first contract. It's got to work hard, keep working hard, don't give up, don't not do something, don't listen to what anyone else tells you.
Hello everybody, thank you for coming today, and thank you for Century members for joining us as well. We love collaboration with partner clubs, and especially when their community joins our community. It just means that we are a bigger family. So yeah, really excited to have you guys here. Really excited to have Simon Newton here, a former bodyguard with top celebrities for top Michael Jackson, Kendall Jenner, and various big superstar A-list celebrities, and also in the army. You've done a lot. I don't think in this interview we can cover everything that you've done, but we'll try and cover as much as possible. And also that mindset changes over time from when you were young to when you started your business and how all of that transformed. So if we get started from your early days, how were you like as a kid?
So I was born in Eastbourne on the south coast. I lived there till I was around probably about 17 years old. I had standard jobs. My first ever job was probably the best job I've ever had actually. Just didn't pay very well, but I used to dress up as a bear at the local fair in Eastbourne, which is still there today. And someone used to take me around, and we, let the kids play and everything else. I used to look out through the mouth and do a day of that, and I used to really enjoy that. I did 2 summers of that pretty much. A few things happened at the park, and I kind of got moved on. But that was a good little number. So, unbeknownst to me, obviously, in my acting days now, but I actually started quite early. Yeah. I didn't realise back then I was going to maybe be a performer. But all I wanted to do when I was young was join the army. Army. Everything was army: plastic guns, toy guns, wooden sticks, everything in the garden, in a local park near my house. Everything was military. My father. My immediate family wasn't in the army, but I had uncles and grandfathers and that in the army. So that's all I wanted to do. When I left school, I used to be a fat kid. And when I first went to join the army, they do like a BMI test, height to weight. I needed to be about 8.5 foot tall to get in at my weight. So I had to leave that dream for a little bit. I went and got an engineering apprenticeship, a mechanical engineering apprenticeship, which predominantly is in a factory. Which just wasn't for me, day in, day out, same factory. I just thought, I can't deal with this. I was an army cadet as well at the time, which obviously got me even more keener to be in the army. All my friends at the time as a child were army cadet. They all joined the army, so I got left behind, and I just thought, I can't do this anymore. I need to go and get fit. So one morning I woke up, left my parents' house. I went for a run, which was 1 lamppost. That's how big I was, 48-inch waist. Come back. Went out the next day, 2nd lamppost, 3rd lamppost, and I thought if I can run to the top of the road to the shops, you know what I mean, I'm achieving something here. A couple of weeks later, I'll get to the top of the road to the shops. Anyway, that went on for a little while. My parents saw me doing it, but didn't say anything. I don't think they wanted to sort of put me off from doing it. When I saw my grandmother a couple of months later, and she said, "Oh, you lost weight," and that was like the first time that I noticed or thought of losing, it was actually working. So it went on from there, and I got fitter and fitter and fitter. I lost a lot of weight, and I thought, actually, I can go and join the army now. And that's what I did. I joined the reserves first in Eastbourne, and pretty much straight away I joined the regular army from the reserve army. I got posted out to Canada in 2000, I think it was roughly. Can't remember, so long time ago now. I spent a year out there as permanent staff working on range safety for the live firing exercises. At the time, it used to be, I think they've literally just got rid of it now, but it used to be one of the only places the British Army could exercise a whole battle group live firing, which is tanks, mortars, machine guns, all the different assets, artillery, but you can fire at once. It's the only place in the world we could do it at the time. So I went out there doing range safety for a year, finished there, come back. I was at Catterick for a while, Catterick Garrison. And then Iraq War 2003 started. I went out to that.
What was that like? And did your parents know?
Yeah, they did know, yeah. I was all excited about it. Like, I couldn't wait. I just couldn't wait to get out there. The thing is with it, when you think all those years from the age of maybe 10 running around the garden, when I used to run around in the garden, I always used to think, I wonder what it's like to be shot at. Yeah. it's a weird thing as a soldier. You want to go to war. If you go and join a football team, and you train every night, every week, but you never get a game.
Yeah.
You know, some people just like training. That's fine. But for me, I wanted to join the army. It wasn't for the killing aspect. I never even thought about that, to be honest. Obviously, I knew that happens. I never even thought about that. But it's for the whole experience of what goes with a war, and just with the other guys, and being in another country which isn't like ours. You know, because unfortunately it's going wrong for them in their country. There's a lot of stuff that goes with it outside of just, you know, shooting people. Obviously, that unfortunately, that part of it does come along a little bit later in my career. But at the time, I couldn't wait. It's not really the right way to describe it, but for me, it felt like a lad's holiday. That's the way do you know what I mean? Because I just enjoyed everything about it. I was with all the people I wanted to be with. I was doing the job that I'd trained for. I was doing the job that I wanted to do as a child. Yeah, and I just thought it was brilliant.
What were the guys like?
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, men and women. Yeah.
Did anyone get on your nerves?
No, you don't. It doesn't really. You know, there are people. Military is no different to any other business or, you know, any other job in life. It's going to upset you at times.
Yeah.
But there's always a thing in the military where even if it's someone you don't really get on with. I never hate anyone. Never hated anyone in my life. Not real hate. I don't. I dislike people. That's fine. Everybody does that. But I don't hate anyone. Do you know what I mean? So. And
what was that like in like, I want to say, a battlefield?
Yeah.
And compared to when you guys were back in camp?
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. So even if you dislike someone, the day you're in a situation with someone, all that's gone.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You don't think, oh, I don't like him. Don't matter if he gets shot. You know, you don't think that. You ever think, well, even if he gets shot, you still run over that road, grab him, pull him back. Yeah. As soon as you get back into the camp, you hate him again.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's, do you know what I mean? It's all part of that. It's just a big family, and it doesn't matter what regiment you're in. Neither they might not be in your unit. You might have never met them before. It doesn't matter if they're out there, Army, Navy, or Air Force, and you're doing something and they need your help. Then you help them. And there's no ifs or buts or anything else really.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like that about the military. And obviously, as time went on, one of my jobs in Iraq, as it went into the end of the war, was I looked after some. I've got to be careful what I say. I call them American diplomats. And they were there to predominantly start looking for the weapons of mass destruction, which were at the time was what we was meant to be invading Iraq for. Yeah. Obviously, as we know today, it's all low nonsense. But so we used to go out and visit all these sites where with different informants would come into our camp, come up to the front gate and tell us the information, and then they would get interviewed, and then it'd all get passed on to us, where we would go out Iraq wide and investigate these weapons, what's meant to be weapons of mass destruction. I think we did something like 35 sites in that time. We didn't find anything other than one. There was one site we found a container of something which was it was some sort of nuclear waste, but it wasn't a chemical weapon. With us, we had a guy from a company called, I think it's DAMAC, which was an American company which dealt with nuclear waste. And it's not really funny, but it is funny. I was out in the car at the time. Everyone was going to go in this house to look at this thing, and I said, I'll stay out here because you don't just leave the vehicle on its own. So I was happy to stay outside. So anyway, everyone went in there, looked at it, come back out. They said, yeah, it's a bit of a waste of time. It's a box about this big or whatever. 2 days later, one of the guys' hair started falling out, and he got a checkup, and he started getting. And he got some sort of chemical radiation poisoning from this thing they looked at in the house. So there was bits and pieces like that out there, but it was nothing. It was nothing what it was meant to be. But that job for me, because it's kind of a protection job, I got offered to do a course in Catwick with a unit called 473 Battery, which was an observation target acquisition regiment, which basically, is anyone military in here? Okay, so I'll explain it best I can. It's basically you go behind enemy lines and call in artillery gunfire. So you get right up close behind, further forward than the conventional army, and then you can call in all the gunfire. So I was going to do their course because that's who I was working with out there at the time in Iraq. But at the same time, I got offered a job. I bumped into a friend of mine who was at Basra Air Station, and he was working for a private security company. And he said, who are you out here with? I said, I'm still with the Army, because at the time, with the job I was doing in the Army, I was wearing civilian clothing. And he said, why didn't you come out here? You know, the money's much better, the conditions were better, they had fridges in their own. I was living in a church at the time, a wooden church, you know, 50-degree heat, it was awful. He had his own container with you know, fridge, TV, all the bits and pieces. So I thought about it. I was 23, just about to turn 24. I was quite young still, and he done me a CV. I never had a CV in my life. Sent it to an office in London, on Buckingham Gate, which actually my office now is opposite the same office I went to that day. So I never thought I'd have an office in the same place. Yeah. And they offered me a job, but they couldn't take me on because I was still in the military, so I had to leave the military. So I thought, right, do I go back to Catterick, do this course, stay with this unit, or do I get out and do the private security in Iraq thing? Money and, you know, job and everything else. I just thought, my sergeant major said to me, look, you're quite young still, go and do that job, 2 years, buy yourself a house, and then you come back to the army, you'll still be young enough to do that. So that was the plan. If it didn't happen, I left. Iraq led on to Afghanistan. I was on the ships for many years doing anti-piracy. South America, a bit out in Kenya. You know, I was all over the place working as a bodyguard. And this was all long before the celebrity stuff. All the celebrity stuff was around here, really. Right. But that's how I got into private security. My big childhood dream of being a soldier lasted no more than about 4 years.
So how did that transition into private? Was it luck, or was it just, you know?
What, from being a soldier to doing that? Well, you had to have the right skill set. I had a good skill set for my age. I did have a little bit of luck when I had the interview at the time. The guy who was interviewing me was an ex-military officer who knew my officer when I was out in Iraq, because they'd served together before. So we obviously called him up and got good reference and everything else. So I got the job. But I mean, it would have been interesting to see how long I would have stayed in the army if I hadn't had that job. I would have stayed in longer. I don't think I would have been a 22-year man, but I would have stayed in longer. But private security for me at the time, it really suited me. I did just over 3.5 years in Iraq as a private security contractor. I'd worked for the US government and the Japanese government. And then I went to Afghanistan with Foreign Commonwealth Office looking after HMRC officers. And everyone always says, why HMRC? What's to do with tax in Afghanistan?
They've got the border controls.
Exactly, they do
right?
all the border controls as well. So we did all the airports, all the city gate checkpoints, because obviously the drugs and narcotics around there were quite big. So we spent a lot of time training the drug police out there, and then we'd go out for maybe a month and mentor them out on the jobs, making sure that they were doing what they were.
Did it ever get violent?
Yeah, very. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. The training part was easy; it wasn't a big deal. But you think if you've got 2 trucks of pure heroin coming for a checkpoint, and we want to stop you, you know, people don't just get out and go, yeah, no worries. It can turn quite messy at times. So, yeah, I mean, that was a good job. We used to drive onto the back of a plane, put our vehicles on a plane, fly up and down, just land on the road, do the thing. You know, we wouldn't stay in these places too long; it's too dangerous. And then come back out and go back and do another one. And I did that for nearly 2 years, I think. I woke up one morning from I thought, I don't want to do this anymore. This is what I do. As soon as I don't want to do something anymore, then I won't do it. And I don't like cut my nose off to spite my face and just walk out. But do you know what I mean? I start thinking, right, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. What do I do next? What do I want to do next? There was an older guy on my team at the time, and I said, look, I want to leave, but I'm not leaving to come back here and do nothing. Yeah. And he said, well, you spoke about being a bodyguard in London loads of times, but and I thought about it, and I thought, yeah, I have, but when you first start, it's very freelance. It's no full-time job. You know, you're always looking for work. I didn't know anyone back here at the time. All my time was, actually, we'll pedal back a little bit in a minute because I forgot something which I always forget. Michael Jackson I did when I was in Afghanistan, but I'd come back on leave from Afghanistan. So at the time, Michael Jackson was the only job that I'd actually done in the UK before I left.
How was that?
For my first job in London, yeah, it's a busy job. It was more than just me. You can't just have one bloke. It was 5 or 6 of us on it. You didn't move them around a lot because it was just too much of it. You know, I think we had something like 8 or 12 black cabs, all paid for by fans on the meter all day, just so they could get in them and follow us all the time. Yeah. So it just took a lot of organising, really.
What was your favourite moment with him?
We went to a Chinese on King's Road, but I love Chinese. Do you know what? The thing, I didn't appreciate that job at the time. I was working, you know, I was a working bodyguard. Everything I did was because I was needed to earn money, if you like. I was actually on leave. I had 4 weeks off from Afghanistan when they called me to do it. They didn't tell me who it was. And I thought, I don't want to do this. I don't really want to go to London, because at the time I lived in Eastbourne, but I was in Edinburgh seeing a friend of mine. I'd only just got there, and I thought, I don't want to go down to London and do sort of 10 days, 2 weeks of my leave doing that. So I said no to the job. And then they called me back same evening and said, look, they put the money up. I said, sure, we can't do it. And I thought, oh, do you know what? I thought, I'm going to have to come back and work here one day. Maybe it'd be an idea just to see what it's all about. And that's how I took that job. It wasn't until I got to the airport that I actually knew who it was going to be.
Fine.
Yeah.
What was your first feelings like when you first saw him?
Well, I got a document, it had him on the front page. And for some reason, I didn't think it was him still. I thought it was just a document with him on the front page. Just don't think, do you? And I didn't have a clue what I was there for, do you know what I mean? So, and then I flicked it over and I could hear someone else whispering, it's Michael Jackson, it's Michael Jackson. And I thought, oh, right, it's actually Michael Jackson, is it? I went, oh, right. And then that was it, really. And then he got off the plane, and I looked at him and thought, oh, that's what he looks like. And then for me, that was the end of it, really.
Fine.
That was the end of it. Yeah, all I was worried about was making sure the job didn't run over, because I still wanted 2 weeks off before I went away again.
Yeah.
So I didn't appreciate it that much. I didn't dislike it. I really enjoyed it. But it wasn't until maybe a lot later, and so obviously, you know, when he passed away and all that, I started thinking, do you know what? For a security job, you're probably not going to get a lot more high profile. You know, I started to realise how much of a thing it was at the time. Back then, there wasn't much social media and that. I think we made it on the MTV, and we was on the BBC 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock news, whatever it was, and you know, a little bit of Daily Mail, Sun newspaper, but that's all it was back then. But I mean, it's just another job. All these people for me were just another job, really.
Yeah. And you went back to Afghanistan?
Straight after that, yeah, I had another, I don't know, 10 days off or something. I went back to Afghanistan, yeah. Didn't really, almost another year, I think, and that's when I come back to London. When I first come back to London, I got a job with the Dubai royal family, with the King of Dubai for 2 years in London. So it was actually a really easy job. I didn't really do anything, to be honest. It was a 2-year job, but I only had him when he was here. We did 5 days, 5 nights, 5 off, and I think 2 of the times he came in on my 5 days off.
And it was just you, or did you have a team?
No, it was 5 of us on that, I think. Right. So yeah, I think I did 1 shift one summer for the whole year, do you know what I mean? So I was loving it. Did get a bit boring in the end, because obviously although it sounds great and, you know, I was getting paid, and we had a house in Battersea. I say we had, it wasn't my house, you know, we had all the security guys were in the house. And again, it's a little bit like being back in the army again, really. Yeah. It's good fun. But then it starts to wear you out a bit, doing nothing every day. And, you know, I always had a phone, so I was on call, but, you know, it started getting a bit boring. So I thought, what do I want to do now? And that's when I started up the security company, which was back in 2010. Started off with the Intercontinental Hotel in Park Lane, was my first contract.
Oh, the 5-star hotel?
Yeah, 5-star hotel, yeah. Which now we've got, do you know what, I don't know exactly what we've got now, but we've got about 15, 16 5-star hotels.
What made you start that? What was the mindset like?
I used to get tons of work around that time, and I couldn't do it all myself, obviously. So there was a few occasions where I'd put, you know, friends or whatever else. I wouldn't make anything from it. I was just helping the person out, and I just thought, why am I keep doing this? You know, I could set up a business and do that. And when someone come to me and asked for a little bit of an investment because they wanted to take the Intercontinental Hotel over, they'd been offered the contract, and I said I don't want to invest in it really. It just wasn't. It was a bit of a nothing investment for me. It helped them out, but it wouldn't have been much for me. But I said, what I will do is I'll set a company up with you. We'd put £1 in each, and we'd do that. Yeah. And I said, but I'll only get involved if we can do more. I'm not doing it just for the Continental Hotel. It's not worth it. And they agreed, and that's what we did. We started with £1 in the business account. I went to see an accountant, and they told me. I mean, I was 29 by then, I think. 28, 29, they told me that we would never be able to set a business up like that, not for a hotel, because it takes them so long to pay, and you wouldn't be able to roll the wages, and you need at least 20 grand, you know, to be able to set that up properly. I walked out of his office thinking, what a wanker. Put £1 in and off we went. You know, worked fine for me. No one moaned, everyone got paid still.
And what was your experience like running a business, starting a business? What was running through your mind at that point?
At the time it was a little bit difficult because you don't make a lot of money off those things. And that's around the time I was going out on oil tankers doing anti-piracy on the coast of Somalia and that. So that worked quite well for me because we used to do 10-day transits. And you could kind of get on and get off whenever you wanted. So I would do 1 10-day transit a month, which made me more than enough money really to not do anything else for the rest of the month, which meant I could concentrate on the business. So that was good. That was a good thing to help me build the business really. It wasn't until I started, the security company started growing, then I started working as a bodyguard for the celebrities. Yeah. Got a lot of coverage doing that with different people.
Who did you work with?
Bella Hadid, I did her sister Gigi, Kendall Jenner, Dizzy Rascal, I always forget some, Rita Ora.
Some big names, big names.
Yeah. I mean, I've done loads more than that, but these are the ones I mentioned because they're the ones I spent the most time with. Yeah. Sometimes you might just do a day or a night or something with one.
And were these ones, like Bella and all of these guys, were they different to Michael Jackson? What was the difference?
Yeah, Bella's a woman.
Yeah, of course, of course.
You're never going to get anyone bigger.
Was it a bigger team or?
No, so everyone else I've looked after is I've been on my own.
Yeah.
I've always done it on my own, which you do have to do things a lot differently on your own as well, because obviously it is only you. But equally, you're never going to get anyone, I don't know, maybe Elvis or someone like that, but who's going to be, none of those are bigger. Although they're huge today, they weren't bigger than Michael Jackson. So Michael Jackson, really, to compare him to anyone else, very difficult to do that, because he was probably miles in front of, we might never see anyone like that again in terms of fan base. But for the girls, I never did any actors, which is a bit annoying, because that would have really helped me out today. But it was all models and musical artists. But yeah, I used to do it all on my own. Everything was done by myself, mainly because of cost. People don't like paying for more than one.
Fine.
That's where it comes from.
Fine, yeah. And in terms of your businesses, how many businesses do you have now?
So at the moment I have two. It's slightly going to be three. So I still own the security company. I don't have so much to do with it these days. It grows itself, to be honest. I do keep an eye on it all, obviously. There's plenty of people in the office that do everything. They still have to report to me on a weekly basis. I still go in I go in as much as I can go in. It depends what I've got on that week. So I am still quite involved in that. But the day-to-day operations and all the intermediate, so I don't really get involved in it. Unless something goes seriously wrong, I mean, I might have to get involved, but so clothing brand started last year, that's doing really well at the moment, which I spend a lot more time on at the moment, but even parts of that I'm slowly farming out to other people to do now, because I just can't do everything, all the stuff I've got going on at the moment, I can't do it all. So I've got those two things going on at the moment. On top of that, I've just written a film, which we're not sure which way we're going to do it as a company. Production company is interested in picking it up, or I haven't decided if I want them to do that or whether I'm going to set up my own production company. I haven't decided yet, really. So we're looking at that at the moment, how we're going to do that. But also I've been acting for the last. I started film work in 2010 actually when I was a working bodyguard. I went out to Morocco, did a film with Matt Damon, and I played a US Special Forces soldier, which was really good. The production paid for a village out there for everyone to move out for a week so we could use their village. We're blowing things up and shooting everything, and I remember thinking that 3 o'clock in the morning when I was shooting at all these things and the walls were blowing up, this is exactly what it's like, what it used to be like, but no one's shooting back at me. And I used to think this could be a bit of me later on in life, I quite enjoyed it. So I did that. I couldn't pursue it very much because I was still a working bodyguard. I did work on Sherlock Holmes, Dark Shadow, Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law. So I did a part on that. I kind of messed it up a little bit because I went to sea in between on a ship's job, and I got stuck at sea for it was a 2-week job, and I was gone nearly 10 weeks, I think. It didn't go too well, that job. So I kind of got cut out of most of the film, and luckily they let me back on at the end. So I've done that. I've done a few other little bits and pieces, and then when I decided I had enough of being a bodyguard, like the day I did when I woke up in Afghanistan, I wanted to do something else. I thought I've had enough of this now. I've done everything I want to do. I've got all these little businesses going on, all these other things going on. What do I want to do now? I'm 45 years old. Do I want to be a bodyguard when I'm 50, 65? And I thought, no, I don't. For me, I've exhausted it. And I thought, well, I want to do acting. That was what I said years ago I wanted to do. Yeah. Now's probably a good time. So I went to acting school, got a diploma in screen acting, and then all your normal things, IMDb, Spotlight. I got an agent straight after I finished, which I currently don't have now. I decided that I actually do better on my own. To be honest, I've got far more work on my own than what I have having an agent. So yeah, so I mean that's a big thing this year. We've got we've got 3 UK films, and potentially we've got one a Hollywood film in November, the visa depending. But yeah, this year is going to change. Certainly in the film scene, it's going to, if it goes as how it's set out at the moment, it's going to massively change everything for me in more ways than one, I think.
How did COVID impact you?
Not very much. But I'll tell you what I did have to do. I went back to doing security just a little bit because I kind of left the industry then. I did a lockdown, which was quite nice. The second lockdown is starting to get a bit boring. Third lockdown, I went away. I went out to Czech Republic on an agricultural visa, and looked after Halsey. We did a music video out there. So their people in LA just said, do you want to come and do it? And I just thought, I live on my own and that. I thought, do I want to do another month stuck in this? You know, but I live right by Battersea Park and Albert Bridge. It's actually quite nice because you've got the park and everything. Yeah. But I just thought, and I was running out of money because the security company, all the hospitality side of it, we lost all that overnight. It was only the private residence kind of side of the work that were carried on all the way through COVID because they were all key workers. And then I just thought, oh, yeah, I need to go and do it. And I went out there for a month. And the other thing which was appealing at the time, Czech Republic was actually in a worse state than us at the time. So they were on full lockdown out there. But because we had the Four Seasons Hotel out there and it was open purely for us and the production, so because we were in our own bubble, if you like, and no one else was allowed in the hotel, they had a gym. So I thought, you know what, I'm going just for the gym because the gym had been shut here for God knows how long. I thought it's worth taking that job just to go and use the gym. So that's pretty much what I did. Yeah. Nice. So for me, it weren't that big a deal. I lost a lot of money, millions probably, if I added it all up. But you know, fucking money's money, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So being in the army and then managing business, what's the difference in mindset? What does it take? Is it similar stress levels, or what's the difference?
The army's a funny one because everything's done by manual, even up to an officer level, you know, high level. Everything in the army is done, you know, the way you wear your uniform is done by manual. The way you'll do a section attack and kill the enemy is done by manual. The way you fix an army truck, it's done by manual. The way you cook the food is done by manual. For a lot of people, they get institutionalised into that. Yep. And even though they might make a really high rank in the military, when they get out, they find it difficult to do things for themselves. So there's two types of people in the army. I would say there's more of that type, and then there's people like myself who have to use the manual because you get in trouble if you don't, but quite often maybe you don't flick through as many pages as you should, which people like me probably don't stay in the army that long. That's the thing. If you've got a mind of your own, and that's not to say people in the army are stupid. You know, you get some of the most intelligent people, especially when you're talking about, you know, Whitehall, some of the officers, you know, brigadiers, generals. There's a lot to it, but yeah, the army breeds two types of people, and you'll find that, I mean, the thing with the army today as well, most people are doing 3 or 4 years and getting out now. Yeah. No one seems to be doing 12 or 22 years anymore. It's the odd one, but it's just not. They've got such a retention problem now because of that. And that's the only thing I wonder is if I'd stayed in the army, how much longer would I have stayed in? And I think I probably would have done that course. If I'd passed it, I would have done another 3 or 4 years, and I probably still would have got out. Yeah.
What would you say to the ones that's coming out after 10 years or a decade or so? What would you say to them?
Think about what you're going to. Yeah. If you've really got nothing to go to, or you don't know what you want to do, or you already know you might be someone who hasn't got a lot of motivation or drive, and the military gives that to you, what are you getting out for? You know, if you don't like what you're doing in the military, stay in the military, go out, but try to transfer to do something else. To leave the military to go and do nothing, it's not. I don't think I need to tell people that's probably not a good move. Do you know what I mean? So, if you're an infantry soldier and you don't want to be deployed in a war zone anymore, then fine, go and join the RAF and load up the back of aircraft or something. Do you know what I mean? There's loads of other things you can do. But I say to anyone, not just in the army, once you've had enough, if you've genuinely had enough, change it. Don't try and change the job. Don't try and change your own mindset into liking it again. You know, if you've deeply had enough. And then also think about why you've had enough. Have you had enough because you've just decided to get lazy? Have you had enough because you found something else you want to do? Have you had enough for now, but you reckon next year you might be all right? Do you know what I mean? If you've deeply had enough, start making motions of doing something else. And obviously the first thing is you have to decide what it is you might want to do.
Fine. When a lot of people going through changes, they procrastinate during that transition period. What's your relationship with procrastination?
Cancer, isn't it, really? I mean, it's easier said than done. When we all procrastinate, I'm not saying I don't, but I know when I'm doing it. And it happened slightly when I was doing the clothing brand. I had everything ready, everything was made, everything's done in China, everything was shipped over, and pretty much all I had to do was press the button to go, to start selling. I thought, I'll wait, it's Friday, I'll wait till Monday, I'll do it, because obviously what if orders start coming in, and we've got it all sorted out, and then Monday come along and I needed to tie up a couple of more bits on the website. I could have still launched it, and I just sat there and thought, just do it now, and I think I launched it at like 2 o'clock in the morning. I just did it now, because just what's the difference, just get on with it. And you can procrastinate yourself out of a job, that's if you're not careful, that's the problem.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Tell us a little bit about your team, because I know you like also working by yourself. You've got confidence being by yourself and all of that stuff, but who's your key players within your business, and how much do you rely on them?
Well, so we've got nearly 200 security guys for starters for the security company, but I mean they're obviously they're not at the they don't work in the office, they're not at the front of it, if you like. But obviously with the security office we have operations manager, HR, office manager, Laura. Where's Laura? Let's embarrass her. Where is she? Laura. So Laura does all my PR, because I've over the years done a lot of magazines, TV interviews, news, and podcasts, and whatever else I've forgotten. I've got a website, it's got tons of stuff on it. So the PR for not just being a bodyguard, but for the clothing brand, that's got good PR now. The security company has a little bit of it now and then, and obviously the film work now has a lot of PR. Yeah. You're only as good as the team you put together. It's as simple as that. And when I take people on, as Laura will probably tell you, there's a few people who've come and gone. There's been nothing wrong with them, been great people, but they don't fit. Yeah. And that's not, it doesn't mean to say that they just fit with me. They need to fit in with everyone else, because everyone else does fit at the moment, and you've only got to put one person in who doesn't, and it upsets the apple cart. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not very strict on people. I like to let people run away to see what they're going to do. Yeah. And that's kind of how I test people, if you like. Give them tons and tons and tons and tons of rope, and see if they use it wisely, or if they do something that's going to piss me off.
Best way to judge a character. Awesome. Okay, cool. So your acting career, what does that look like over the next few years? What are you planning to do?
It's difficult to say at the moment, because I don't really know. Film is very temperamental. You never really know if you're doing a film until you're 2 months into filming it. Yeah. Because anything can change, budgets, and other films get bought in front maybe, which you're not in, and so on. But at the moment, I mean, it's looking promising with a lot of the UK films. 2 UK production companies that had offered me parts in their next 3 films. So essentially that's 6 films. That's in the UK. UK film industry is not huge, but it's good. It's good, but it's not huge. Hollywood's where you want to be really as an actor. Which obviously the one in November. If I do that, I'll have a O1 visa, which is for 3 years, which means I can live and work for that same production company in the States. So, am I getting bored of the security company and everything else? Next year there might be a change.
Do you get bored easily?
Do I get bored easily? Do you know what it is? Once I feel like it's not so much boredom, because I think if you get bored easily, you change things like you're never really doing one thing, and that can become a mess. If I can't get something out, like the best out of what I'm doing, I'll move on. You know, if I was making your white shirt and I could do absolutely everything, but I was never going to be able to make colours, I wouldn't bother starting. I can't. Do you know what I mean? I don't, because even if I don't get to making the colours, even if I don't make, I still got to have the potential to be able to get there to do that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So, and if I can't, if someone takes something away from me or something changes that I can't do, then I'll go, all right, no worries, I'll start making trousers in.
Yeah. Of course. Okay, cool. And in terms of where you are at the moment, how are you giving back to the world? What's that? Are you involved in communities, charities? What's your giving back?
Do you know what? Right now, nothing. I'll be honest. With what I'm doing at the moment, I haven't got the time to do anything extra. That being said, where I help people the most probably is in the security world, actually, with people who wanted to start working for security and advice on jobs. But even clothing, I'm already getting people asking me how to start a clothing brand, what to do, what to get out there. So that side of things, I do a lot of, because people have helped me along the way. And obviously, I think a lot of the people who help me, I can't help them back because they're so far up the tree, if you like. There's not really much I can help them with. But where I can help is people who are maybe a little bit lower down than me, and I can help them. So that's why I always try to help people. But in terms of charity and stuff like that, I'd like to. one day, and it'll either be because my business is financially in a place where I can really help, or maybe my profile as an actor is way bigger, where I can help maybe particularly in that way.
Absolutely. So some advice for the people starting up in business. What advice would you give them?
Make sure you choose something you enjoy. It's always a big thing. Everything I do, I enjoy. I've never done a job that I haven't enjoyed. Even starting from the bear, I think that's where that come from really. You always just do things that you enjoy doing, and don't expect it to be an easy ride. If you're a work-life balance person, I would suggest you go and work for someone else.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, it is. You can't. There's no off days. There's no. It doesn't mean say you can't have a holiday. It doesn't mean say you can't go and enjoy yourself and do all these things. You can, but when you're in a restaurant with your family having dinner and you've got to quickly run out and take a call, unfortunately you're the boss, you're the man, or lady. You're the one who's got to get out there and do it. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough, but I enjoy it, so it's not tough for me. I don't see it. I don't see it like I work. Yeah. I work 7 days a week. To people what call it work, I do what I want every day. It's all for my empire. It's all for what I've chosen to do. I never really have to. Everyone does something they don't really want to do at times because that's just life. But my whole life isn't set up like that. I'm not doing 5 days a week of something I don't want to do. Yeah. I come and go. I travel. I just come back from Cannes Film Festival actually. I've got what else have I got this year? I've got obviously New Mexico. I've got Santorini. I've got about 3 other places. I've got Marbella Film Festival. I think we're filming in Ibiza as well at some stage for about a month this year, and Germany, and that's what I know of at the moment. So there will be more in there somewhere. So I just set your business up, and you can't do what you want when you first set it up. It's taken me 10, 15 years probably to get to a place where I didn't even have an office for the first probably 8 years because I made sure that was the last thing, because obviously it's an expense that you don't really get much out of it if you it's got to work hard, keep working hard, don't give up, don't not do something, don't listen to what anyone else tells you. Yeah. The accountant that told me you can't set a business up without 20 grand. I've had people tell me don't set a clothing brand up, you're not making any money. I'm not making a fortune, but I've made more money than what one of them made in the last 10 years. I've only been doing it since October. Go with your gut instinct. You've also got to do your research. And it doesn't mean say don't ask other people, but this is where people go wrong, particularly with children. They go and ask their dad, who's a carpenter, about being a policeman. Yeah. Well, I know you're a father and you want to help your son. Best way you can help your son is go down the local police station and ask very nicely if you've got a police officer who can spend 10 minutes with my son and talk to him about being a police officer. Do you know what I mean? And that's the way to help people, rather than giving them some two-bit sort of, because you want to feel like you need to help when you're talking some program you've just seen on the telly about how to be a police officer. Do you know what I mean? So, get advice, but get advice off the right people is probably my advice.
Did you have any mentors?
No, do you know what? That's a question I get asked a lot. Mentors and heroes. Well, even when I was younger, I don't know if it's arrogance or not really, but people say, what about him? Is he your hero? And I look at him and go, no, I want to be like him. I will be like him when I'm older, or I'll just go and do that myself. That's what I always used to think. I always used to get put in the papers quite a lot for Jason Statham. Right? I don't know why, he's got no hair, same thing, that's about it, right? Do I want to be Jason Statham? No, of course I don't. I want to be Simon Newton, but I want to be Simon Newton doing what Jason Statham does, do you know what I mean? So I've never had, I've never seen anything what I don't think I can do, and I don't mean that in an arrogant way, but I'll have a go at anything. Yeah. And I might not make it, I might not be good enough, and it might not do what I'm trying to do. And that's, again, unfortunately, failure is all part of, moving on, and certainly getting yourself out of your comfort zone. Some of my biggest moves in life have been very, very uncomfortable for me, but it's really pushed me on. Yeah. A lot of people don't like doing that. It's a bit alien to some people, but you can sit there and be cosy if you want. There's nothing wrong with that, but you'll find that you'll probably die cosy as well.
Yeah. How good is your relationship with failure?
What, does it bother me?
Yeah.
No, it doesn't, because if anything, it makes me just go at it again.
Yeah.
Because I think I failed that, and I look at it. I always look at what went wrong. If it's something that was out of my control, I think, well, there's nothing I could have done about it anyway. If it's something I did wrong, I think, well, you're an idiot, so we'll have a go again and don't do that again. Do you know what I mean? If it's maybe failed something, so I've got halfway into it and thought, actually, I don't even like doing this. And maybe, so always look at why you failed, If it's something that you really want, you go again.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. Failure's not a big thing, is it? I never really understand. If you put in 10 years worth of work at uni and you fail, then I get why you might be a little bit upset about 10 years, long time, right?
Fair enough, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But you're more worried about not failing. You're more worried about the time lost. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
So just keep cracking at it, and the more time you spend on it, you'll be surprised how many times people don't fail.
Yeah.
It's just not, people not buying my clothes isn't a failure. I just need to rejig my marketing strategy and what I'm going to do. Do you know what I mean? Because I look. I don't know if anyone's noticed.
It's a really nice shirt. It's a really nice shirt.
But I look at the product myself and I show it to people. Don't tell them it's mine.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So I think if I was actually chucking out nonsense and I was getting bad complaints, and do you know what I mean? And then you think, well, you're going to fail. Of course you're going to fail. But when you've got a good product, certainly with marketing, it has to hit the right people. And obviously, when you first start out, it's quite hard to find those, the right niche of people. It takes time. Just keep plugging away at it.
Yeah. Iterations after iterations. Just keep
yeah.
going.
And the other thing what people do as well is when it's not going right, they just crack on with it. If it's not going right, change it. Yeah. And if that's not working, change it again. If that's not working, do it a different way. If that's not working, find another way. Do you know what I mean? Because one of those ways will keep working. And quite often I've said to people, oh, well, I've done this way and that way. And I go, oh, well, that's about the only two ways you can do it, really. And I just think, I can't think of another way of doing it, but I know that's not the only two ways of doing it.
Yeah.
There will be another way. There has to be another way. Because if there isn't, that means I've got to close all this down right now and it's not going to work. And it's rubbish. Do you know what I mean? And before you know it, you thought of something else. And then lucky you didn't listen to that person.
Yeah, exactly. I always say the regrets are going to be the choices you did not make rather than the choices that you made. So before we pass on to the audience, if you were to write an autobiography, what would you call it?
So we was looking at writing a book over COVID actually, but I didn't want to do a military gun ho. I'm a hard man book. So many of them out there, people shooting people from 1,000 miles away in Afghanistan and all this stuff. And although that was a part of my life at one stage, and it would be mentioned in a book, I didn't want to do that. So I thought what I would do is when I'm, say, maybe 65 or something, 70, I'd do like an autobiography from day one, from all the different things that I've done. And hopefully by then, if the acting career, film career and anything else I might be doing after that, because I don't even know what that is yet, but it probably will be something. But just calling it Simon Newton will be enough for everyone to go, oh, I'm going to have a read of that.
Yeah, I bet. Awesome. No, thank you so much. If we open it to the audience, if anybody has any questions.
I don't think your microphone is actually working. So this is a talk.
It isn't it?
Yours is.
Oh, good.
I've got a loud voice.
I will kick off just to ask, bodyguarding.
Yeah.
Did you actually have to do anything? Or was it just you were there?
It depends what part of the world you're in.
So what did you have to do?
Well, in what country?
What
in Iraq, I carry guns. So, in the UK, not so much. To be fair, you have to do a lot of it's planning. A lot of it's about not making things happen. If you're a good bodyguard, it won't happen anyway. If something's happened, then you've kind of not really done your job that well because it shouldn't come to that. Obviously, things sometimes do happen, so you do get stuff that you're never really going to sort of combat, if you like. And you do have to be able to react to that. That's what I'm there for. One thing bodyguards sometimes I think forget about is you're looking after two people, because it's all right looking after the person you're protecting, but you've got to look after yourself as well, because no one wants to get hurt, no one wants to die. But on top of that, if I get hurt and they don't, once I'm hurt, who's looking after them? See what I mean? So in the UK, overzealous fans, people touching, grabbing. But I'll be honest, I never got any problems in the UK. Most of my stuff was talking. I used to just say to people, especially if you're being an idiot, say, what are you doing? Just stand over there, what are you doing? Do you know what I mean? And I never really had a problem with it. Middle East, obviously, 12-man teams, belt-fed machine guns, assault rifles. You can imagine that it's a different gravy, that one.
So my question is, given the level of high-profile positions you've had, starting from your positions in the army and through to working with celebrities, you would have heard and seen things. How did you remain true to yourself?
In what respect?
So, if you're in the army, given where you were in Afghanistan, you know, with all the high profile, you know, at that time there was a lot of media coverage of the war, and there would be things being said, done, the truth, what was true, what was not true.
Right, I see what you
and
mean.
what
Yeah,
was
yeah.
actually going on in the ground.
Yeah.
Was probably different to what we probably heard.
What,
And how would you remain true to yourself?
it was easy for me because unfortunately you guys got a load of nonsense and I got the truth. So it was one thing it did actually at a very early age. It really showed me how bad the media was at the age of 26 because of the reporting on the stuff, the jobs that I were on, and I just thought, well, that didn't happen. That person wasn't there. We didn't even go to that place. You know, so from quite a young age, I knew. We all know a little bit of, not call it false reporting, but stuff that, you know, because they get the bones of it, and then if they can't make a story, they fill the rest up. But at quite an early age, I knew how sort of bad it was. I actually did 2 visits with Gordon Brown when he was Prime Minister in Afghanistan as well, and there was quite a lot of stuff that was an eye-opener with that. With just, you know, the Prime Minister's a puppet master. To be honest, he's got so many aides and if you think about it, all the things that go on around the world that they have to comment on, it's almost impossible for them to be an expert on all of them. They can't be. So, closed my ears, did my job, got paid, went home. To be honest, you know, none of it affected me. It did. That's one thing it did open my eyes to, was how, I don't want to say corrupt, but how misled, whether it's on purpose or not. And a lot of it wasn't on purpose. It just didn't have the right story. That's the only thing, but you do get to hear a lot of things, you do get to see a lot of things, and particularly with the celebrities, they're still, this is what I always say to everyone, they're still human, they still sleep, cry, don't want to go to work in the morning, they need the bathroom, they need to have a drink, they need to have something to eat. They still do all those fundamental things, which have to be coped. Some of them might have some sort of medical condition, you know, so as a bodyguard you have to deal with all that the same as you do, especially some of the models. They were 18, 19 years old, so they're almost children still, really. And quite often in the evenings in the hotel, when we finish for the day, I'd be going to bed, you think, Jesus, I've got a mate who's got a daughter who's older than you, do you know what I mean? But when they're out in their ball gown doing an event for the day, they look like they're 35, you don't think nothing of it. But yeah, I just don't know. I don't have an opinion on anything, to be honest, when I was working.
I'm sure you do.
Not when I was working.
Sorry, I'm handing you this. Okay. You're going to have to talk loud, even though you're talking loud.
I think you can hear me.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Is there? I'm also from a freelance profession. You love the fact that it's freelance. It was freelance.
Yeah.
Bodyguarding. So, is there some kind of, not a union, but a club or a place that you all go to swap stories and to just socialise with people that were doing the same job as you?
No. So I'm a member here. No, there isn't. Not in the security world. In the military world, they still do reunions and stuff for certain, maybe for certain operations or certain years that you served. I'll be honest with you, I don't go to anything military at all anymore. I left NEED 20 years ago, and as much as I did enjoy it at the time, I kind of let things go a little bit. I don't really sort of hang on to them for too long. But no, not really. There isn't really anything like that, I don't think.
So you're not lonely?
Am I lonely? Always lonely. No. Do you know what? I'd like to know what it felt like to be lonely sometimes.
Yeah. And the other thing is, when you were jumping from one job to another, it must have been a nightmare finding out which weapons you could use where and getting the right permits. Or is that something that your PA would do for you?
Yeah, so that side of it is all done by the, certainly obviously in Afghanistan it's all done by the British government, so we didn't really have much problem with that. In Iraq, it's done by the US and the Japanese government for me. So in the early days in Iraq, actually, it got a little bit difficult because we didn't get the right weapons in there in time, because straight after the war, things like weapons permits and stuff like that hadn't really been produced, and the government had just been overthrown, so there wasn't really anyone who could sort of authorise that stuff. So it was all been done by the US Army at the time, and I remember the first job I went on when I got out there, we had to go downtown into Basra City and buy a box of AK-47s to use because we didn't have any weapons. But it wasn't long after that weapons permits started getting produced, and they shipped in weapons from Germany, better weapons. But all that stuff, I didn't have to worry about any of that. All that stuff was done for me. As long as I had one and it worked, I wasn't really bothered.
So looking forward, what is the main thing? Is it the acting? Is it the entrepreneurship? What's your main kind of goal, motivation?
Probably all of it, but realistically, it'd probably
Can't
be
say all of
probably realistically, it's going to be the acting and the film work, because it is acting now. But like I say, I've just written a film, which ultimately can turn in later on to producing, directing. So if I was to choose one thing, where do I see myself in 10 years' time? I would like to think within the film arena.
And are you able to tell us what the film's about?
I could say, kind of. I don't. Do you know, well, I'll tell you what it is. I don't really know what it's about myself. So there's a UK gangster franchise, which has made 6 or 7. I've probably heard of Foot Soldier franchise. So we're doing something with them this year. There's another one who told me the name of it today, and I can't remember what it's called, so I can't tell you that. What's it called? Don't know. But anyways, the biggest one is with Lawrence Fishburne in the States, the guy who did The Matrix and a few other things. Nice. We're filming that in New Jersey in November and December. Should just finish filming it just before Christmas. So that'd be my first proper Hollywood movie. I did double for Dave Bautista in the movie Final Score quite a few years ago, which I totally forgot to tell you about earlier when we was talking about it. But
You're going to have to get your own double.
Yeah, well,
Now.
poor. Don't envy him.
Jason Statham.
Yeah.
Do we have any final questions?
First up, that Matt Damon film, was that Green Zone?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
When you were, whether it was in the military or private protection, did you have any hearing moments, like the closest to a near-death experience or anything? What was the worst one?
Yeah, there's quite a few, to be honest with you. I mean, you used to get trouble more often than not. When you're in places like that, you kind of get a little bit desensitised to it. So if you're driving down the road and you get shot at, and maybe it just hits the road in front, or maybe it hits one of the doors on the second vehicle or something, you kind of go home saying that you've had a good day and nothing's really happened. Whereas obviously if that was to happen here, you'd probably be talking about it for the next 6 years. So there was a lot of that stuff that went on day to day. I got hit by a number of roadside bombs. I'm actually pretty much deaf in my right ear, and I have tinnitus as well. I think probably one of the worst ones actually. I was in the Palestine Hotel in Baghdad 2006, and it got rocketed, and they slammed 3 Chinese rockets in. They made like a makeshift rocket launcher off the back of a truck, drove it in at night, and we was on the 18th floor at the time because that's where we used to eat. I don't know why they put the restaurant on the 18th floor of this place, but so we used to go up there and eat, and they hit on the 12th floor, smashed the lift shafts, set the whole thing on fire, and we were stuck on the 18th floor, couldn't get down. And in places like, you can't let the fire service come in because the Iraqi fire service, you don't know what's on in those trucks, so it's too dangerous. So we started fighting the fire with fire extinguishers from upstairs and people from downstairs. And yeah, I mean, I thought that day that, I mean, what a place to die, in a restaurant. It's not too bad. I thought you still get an extra ice cream, do you know what I mean? You can celebrate a little bit, can't you? But yeah, there's a few things like that. I actually got, me and a friend of mine were walking back. We was on camp, quite a safe place. We got mortared one night, and one dropped about 5 metres and didn't go off. So we got quite lucky. But a lot of the guys died. I think I went out there, the group I went out with, which was 6 of us, I think four of us got killed. So I did a job in Iraq called Convoys at the time, and that was very high on the death rate for private security contractors. We were getting killed all the time out there, or kidnapped. Yeah, that was another one. We used to have a price on our heads for kidnapping. Muqtada al-Sadr, I think it's $5,000 for anyone who took us in. So that was, I always said I'd never get kidnapped. Yeah, I think shoot myself first.
Oh, I have a quick question, just out of curiosity.
You have to hold the talking
Oh.
microphone.
All out of curiosity.
Just out of curiosity, did you hear anything on the inside when Kim Kardashian's security team?
What, the hotel got robbed or whatever?
Yeah, do you
No. I heard nothing about that whatsoever. No, do you know what? I
Do
didn't.
you think it was just less security she had on that day?
Well, she didn't have any security that day. So basically, long story short, the security guy she normally had, her mother was going to a nightclub with her sister that night. She was staying in. She told her security guy to go with her mother to the nightclub because they were going out. He said he didn't want to go because he felt he should be at the hotel with her, which is normally what you do in his defence. And this happens quite a bit. How many times you say no to the person who's paying the bill? You know, and you can only advise, and that's what I used to do. Put my point across as much as possible, and then I'd say I'd do it, and I'd walk off knowing that if anything went wrong, there's no way you're going to forget that I told you that I didn't want to go. Do you know what I mean? So, and that's kind of what happened that day. So she was with no security. However, was that a setup or not because of that? Who knows?
Just curious.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, and thank you, Simon. A warm round of applause. Thanks.
Thanks.
So much. Thank you.